High nostril piercings, pros, cons, advantages, disadvantages. That's going to talk about, what you should do beforehand, how long it's going to take to heal, what the piercing experience is like, and living with the piercing, jewelry, and what happens if you don't like it anymore and you want to take it out. Coming up next on Pros and Cons by a Piercer, Season 2, Episode number 93. For those who are new to the channel, welcome to the Body Piercing Tattooing channel. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Hope you're finding them helpful and useful, but you might not know who I am. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located right here in lovely Des Moines, Iowa, inside the Skin Kitchen Tattoo. Had to take a little bit of a break to finish the new website for the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, or Axiom Body Piercing, or whatever I've decided it's called this week. If you'd like to check that out, go to AxiomPiercing.com. Brand new, easier to navigate, all kinds of fun stuff. But let's get into the video. High nostrils. This is a piercing that is pretty much a modern invention. I don't remember seeing them back in the 90s. I'm guessing these developed kind of in the 10s. I'm sure somebody else tried this at some point in history, but for the most part, it is a modern piercing. Let's move on to the pros, the advantages, the things that make you go, yeah, I need that in my life. Starting with number one, this is not a common piercing. This is an unusual piercing. It's not a piercing you're going to see every day. Usually they're done in pairs, so they're a very pronounced piercing and one you see and go, wow, I've never seen that before. Like all nostril piercings, they have a long history of healing. This is not a piercing that's going to be an extremely difficult piercing to heal, though it's a little bit more difficult than a normal nostril piercing, and I'll get into that later. But for the most part, it's going to heal if you take care of it properly and do what you're supposed to do. Number three, enhances and beautifies the area. It draws attention to it. If you're really proud of your nose, it's one of those things that'll kind of draw a little extra attention to it. Plus, they look just really cool, and depending on the jewelry, you can go with various different things that really brighten the area and make it even more beautiful than it already is. Number four, can easily be combined with other nostril piercings to create a grouping that draws a lot of attention and has patterns in flow and etc. All those great things that we like to do with piercings and give you a very unique look. And the last one, number five, there is a huge variety of different types, styles of jewelry that you can put in this piercing. Mainly, you want to stick with threaded or threadless labret studs, and I'll talk about jewelry later, but there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of different ends that you can put in this piercing to give it a very unique look and a different look. Also, you can put chains that connect both of them for like a different look and things that come off of it. All kinds of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff. Now it's time to move on to the cons. The disadvantages, the things that make you go, no, not for me. Starting with number one, this can affect employment and if you are involved in any type of organized activities, like, for example, sports, athletics, drama, anything where there's a dress code, this can cause problems. You always want to check ahead of time just to make sure. Number two, you cannot sleep on this piercing. You need to sleep flat on your back or figure out a way to keep it elevated off the bedding. That pressure and movement, etc., can cause issues. Number three, you cannot wear makeup or cosmetics or anything in that area. You also want to avoid moisturizers and any type of cleansers in that area until it's completely healed. Number four, this tends to be a little bit more noticeable and a little bit more out there than a normal nostril piercing. So people are going to notice it more often, and they're going to ask you about it. If you're one of those people that doesn't like it when strangers walk up to you and ask you about your piercings, this may not be a good piercing for you. Number five, jewelry will need to be oversized during the healing, and then downsized later. This could be cause a bit of problems with this because of that post being so long. It can be kind of uncomfortable because of the location of that piercing to have it banging against the inside of your nose, against that nostril bone and septum area. People find it uncomfortable. The other thing is one side is usually a little bit more narrow than the other side, so that can affect it. Things can collect there. It has a little bit more of a pain in the ass for the longer jewelry period than other piercings. You do need to downsize in roughly, like I said, in most cases, 6 to 8 weeks, but it's something to consider as a con. You can't just leave that jewelry in there forever. And a bonus con, number 6, the last one. This piercing can be a little bit more difficult to heal than a nostril piercing. It has a little bit more of a contact, etc. Changing jewelry can be a little bit more difficult. It's just, it is a little bit more needy than, say, a normal nostril piercing or a traditional nostril piercing. Now let's move on to preparing and things you should know before getting it done. First one, this piercing is a little bit more advanced than a normal nostril piercing. You do need to find somebody that has skill with this piercing or experience with this piercing, is well educated, knows how to heal the piercing out, can give you the right information, and do the piercing properly. In other words, research your piercer. They should also be willing to give you a consultation about the piercing, talk to you about any risks involved with the piercing, and kind of give you a basic understanding and enough information to make an educated opinion on whether or not this piercing is right for you. The other thing is they should be happy to go through the aftercare of how to take care of it verbally and also provide written instructions and be available for any future problems, concerns, questions, what have you. Next thing you want to consider is if you are employed somewhere or involved in an organization that has a dress code, talk to those in charge beforehand. Don't get the piercing and then go into work or to practice or whatever it is and then find out that you have to remove these wonderful high nostril piercings that you just had done that you're so proud of and so happy to have. Check ahead of time. If it's a situation where you can't have it, you might want to consider delaying the piercing until you're done with that activity or moved on to another job or what have you. But it's better to check ahead of time. Don't do this, just do it and ask for permission later. It usually does not turn out in your favor. Next thing is, does your piercer stock aftercare product? The main aftercare product that you're going to be using on this would be sterile saline spray. The most widely used on the market is Neomed's Piercing Aftercare. Do they have that in stock? Is that something you can buy right at the studio, or is it something you can't? You're going to have to go somewhere else for. Go ahead and buy that stuff if they don't have it in stock so you don't have to worry about it day of piercing. Next thing to consider is the jewelry should be biocompatible and of an implant grade material. If you have any metal allergies or any other problems, you should discuss that with your piercer. In most cases, titanium or 14 karat solid gold or better is your best options. They don't really make niobium jewelry that's going to work well in this piercing because most of it doesn't do well with threaded and threadless posts. So that's kind of your two options. Now, your piercer should evaluate your anatomy and make sure that you can get this piercing and heal it out easily and it's going to fit well. That should be done during the consultation. The other thing is that this piercing is going to require a lot of isolation. Plan ahead of time. Also, if you wear sunglasses a lot or anything that goes in that area, wear that or bring it along to the piercing event when you get pierced, just to make sure that it's not going to be impacted by the jewelry and by the piercing. We don't want any contact with this. And, kind of plan your sleeping patterns and figure out how you're going to sleep beforehand is going to be a lot less stressful than trying to figure it out the night after you got the piercing done. So think these things through and plan ahead. Then there's cross-contamination prevention that you need to plan for. And I'll go into that in depth a little bit later. In some cases, these piercings can take up to 6 months to a year to heal. It varies from person to person. Plan on making that commitment. Also, this jewelry, as I mentioned earlier, will need to be downsized at some point. So you need to plan ahead that you're going to have to go back to that piercer or a piercer in your local area who has compatible jewelry to downsize to a shorter post. Roughly anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks is a good kind of window. This piercing should be done freehand using a needle receiving tube. If people start pulling out forceps and etc., chances are they don't have much experience with this piercing at all. If you have additional nostril piercings that you're planning for the future, like stacked or matching or side-by-side or mantis piercings or rhino piercings or whatever, talk to your piercer about that at the time of marking and during the consultation so you can kind of plan out placement and etc. in advance so you're not trying to come back and make things fit in areas where there's a lot of jewelry or where it just isn't going to. Now let's talk about the piercing experience itself. Pain level, I've had mixed results on this. I've heard everything from it's a 2 or a 3 all the way up to it's a 7 or 8. It can be uncomfortable, and usually these are done in pairs. So usually the first one may not be as bad as the second one. We always, our nervous system seems to register pain more when we continue to do the same action, even if it's in a different area. So it's not uncommon for the first one to be like, oh yeah, that hurt a little bit. And then the second one, like, oh God, that was a little bit much. I'm glad we're done. The other thing is it's probably going to make your eyes water. Anything that has to do with the sinuses, sometimes even eyebrows, anything in that general area can make your eyes water. So don't feel bad about it. Kind of expect it, and it doesn't mean you're a wimp and you're crying because we know better. So when you come into the studio, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a consultation where I go through the basics of what you need to know to heal this piercing out properly, and anything that I feel like it's important for you to know. We're going to evaluate your anatomy. Then we're going to pick out jewelry, and then you'll go through the waiver to consent to the piercing, and it goes through a questionnaire. I always tell people, make sure you read the waiver. Don't just randomly hit, okay. Go through and read it, because there might be things in there that you hadn't thought of. Things like medication, intoxication, any type of health issues you may have. All those things are listed in there, and it's kind of a questionnaire to make sure that you're in the right state to get that piercing that day. And some, including the Axiom, we allow you to fill it out online before you come in, so that gives you even more time to just sit down and read through it. After that's done, we set up all our tools and equipment. We disinfect the area with a surgical scrub, mark the piercing. With marking, I really suggest that you look at them up close and then at arm's length. The reason being is most people do not see you this close. They see you this far away, if not further. If you are in a situation where you're doing 2 of them, it's not so much that we're going to measure out exactly where they're going to be located at by using a ruler, because both sides of your nostril are slightly different. Also on sizing of jewelry, sometimes one side's a little thinner than the other side, or the canal's a little thinner than the other side, the nostril cavity, so it can affect what size jewelry you use. Really look at those, and it's more of giving the illusion that they're even than it is actually them being even. After the marking's done, I put you in a recline position. Some people do it sitting up. We take a needle receiving tube, which is a hollow tube, and put it inside your nostril, and then eject the needle in and into that tube. Then we take a needle or guide pin, put that in there, and then push out the needle, hook the jewelry on, usually with hemostats, on the end of the guide pin, push it back through, put the front on, and you're done. You might notice a little bit of throbbing and aching immediately afterwards. That usually only lasts a few minutes. Of course, it's going to be tender to the touch. That's just part of life. Also, you might see a little bit of slight bleeding off and on. These usually don't bleed a lot, especially if they're done correctly, because we're making a hole that is the same thickness as the jewelry, not wider, so there's not really a lot of room for blood to leak out. Sometimes, though, it just bleeds. Usually it's not too bad. It stops in a few minutes. Keep in mind, the jewelry is going to look longer than you need because it is longer than you need. What we hope is that it doesn't swell as much as the length of that jewelry. But if it does, we want to make sure there is plenty of room in there to allow for that swelling so it doesn't impact and cause issues. You don't want to have to be back there putting a longer piece in a couple days because the jewelry's too short. They can stick out a little bit, and this looks kind of goofy, like you have some type of thing sticking out of your face. Deal with it. It's only a short period of time. You're looking at less than 2 months, and then you'll go to shorter ones, and it'll look better. So just deal with it. Now let's talk about healing. Average healing time on these can be anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks, sometimes longer. Everybody heals at different rates. During that period of time, you want to clean it twice daily using a sterile saline spray. Personally, I like Neomed's Piercing Aftercare. It is what we stock here in the studio at the Axiom. But you can find comparable products from various different companies. The main things you want to look for is it needs to first off be in a metal can. It is not a squirt bottle or a spray bottle. It is an actual can under pressure. It should state on it that it is sterile, and when you turn it over on the back and you look at ingredients, it should state that the only things that are in there are sodium chloride in purified water, nothing else. If it has any other additives, that is not what you want. Now, our main focus with using the saline and what I'm going to tell you to do next is to remove that discharge that hardens the crust on the jewelry, the crusties. The reason we want it off there is when the jewelry shifts or moves or gets pulled on, or it can agitate the piercing, which can lead to issues, and it doesn't feel very good. A lot of this is about comfort. So, additionally to cleaning off with the discharge twice daily, I suggest at the end of your shower, let the water flow over the piercing area for about 30 seconds to remove any additional that's there. If you feel like there's an obsessive amount of it or it's just not coming off, see your piercer. Have them take a look at it, make sure there's not something else going on, and have them clean it for you. Do not run to the medicine cabinet and start pulling out everything tipped with cotton or with a sharp point and start digging around. You're likely going to cause more problems. Now, it's going to swell anywhere from 3 to 5 days. You can reduce swelling by avoiding contact, isolating the piercing, sleep with your head elevated above your heart. Some people will use some crushed ice in a Ziploc bag wrapped with a paper towel for about 10-15 minutes a couple times a day. If you've never had problems taking over-the-counter anti-inflammatories, they can help too. But whenever in doubt, consult your medical professional because they know about the medications you're taking and they know about your health conditions. I don't. Next thing, you got to practice cross-contamination prevention. Common sense things. Wash your hands before you handle it, even though you're never supposed to handle it. No oral contact or exchange of bodily fluids. Keeping your environment clean, clothing, bedding, towels, anything that may come in contact with it. Do not submerge the piercing in bodies of water you cannot control the quality of, which is everything but your own clean bathtub. You're going to see disputed ideas and conflicting ideas on the internet about swimming with fresh piercings or healing piercings. Here's the reality of the situation. Your piercing is an open wound during the healing process. It is a gateway for foreign pathogens. There is no body on planet Earth that is large enough for you to submerge your whole body in and move around in that isn't filled with microorganisms. There is a very distinct possibility that one of those could work their way into the piercing and then cause an infection. Also, with treated pools and etc., in pollution, there's also that added problem of the chemicals and etc. affecting the piercing and causing issues. I know your mom told you when you had that skinned knee back in, when you were 12 that, yeah, get in the water, it's good for it. I know it burns, but it's good for it. No, it isn't good for it. You shouldn't do that. So, no swimming. Sorry. Hot tubbing either. No hot tubbing. Especially the ones in hotel rooms. Ugh. Keep pets away from it. Don't let them sleep in the bed with you, especially smaller animals that like to mess with your face and etc. while you're sleeping. Also avoid contact with hats, helmets, hair, glasses, phones. I don't know how you get a phone against that, but somebody can, I'm sure. Also keep cosmetics, moisturizers, and cleansers away from the area until it's completely healed. Avoid playing with the piercing and excessive movements. Don't mess with it. Don't do the, I don't know, is it healed? It hurts. I don't know, is it healed? Does it hurt? That is just going to prolong your healing period, make it hurt longer, and possibly lead to an infection or other problem. Leave it alone. And when I say leave it alone, that also means don't spin it, don't rotate it, don't move it. Leave it alone. First 3 to 5 days, it's not uncommon to see redness, discolorization, heat, tenderness of touch, inflammation, swelling, in other words. Also, it's not uncommon for it to be tender to the touch, and that tenderness of touch can last longer. As far as downsizing early, if it's a situation where the swelling's completely gone down and you're starting to be agitated on the inside of your nostril, it's just banging into that nostril bone and the septum a lot, go see your piercer and see if it can be downsized sooner, just to take some of that away from the situation. Now let's talk about jewelry. Jewelry needs to stay in at all times, only being taken out to replace. We usually say 2 to 3 years, but the reality is nostril piercings are just one of those piercings. Regardless of how long you've had it, you can't really trust it by taking the jewelry out and leaving it out for an extended period of time. If you have a situation like a medical situation or something like that, you may want to consider getting glass retainers to put in it. They do glass nostril screws or labrae. Just for a temporary measure to keep the piercing open while you can't have metal jewelry in your body. Best option, and pretty much the only option you have, I have seen people put L-bends and nostril screws in these, and they take up a lot of real estate on the inside of your nose and are not very secure. I suggest threadless labrae studs, flatbacks. They can be a pain in the ass to change, and they're going to require that if you do want to change the jewelry, that you have guide pins and probably hemostats, possibly. They're just not an easy piercing to change. However, it's never a bad idea to just go see your piercer. You're there buying jewelry probably anyway. Let them put it in for you. I know some places charge, but most people don't, including myself, especially if you're buying a piece of jewelry from me. I'm not going to charge you to change that. That makes no sense to me. Anyway, but that's the best option that I've found. And there's a huge variety of different ends, so you can get very unique looks and etc. Downsizing the jewelry is extremely important. We want you to downsize because it gets to a point where having that longer post in there can cause a couple of different things to happen. First off, it's going to get caught and snagged a lot more. It's going to put more pressure on the bone on the inside of your mouth or the inside of your nostril, and it's going to cause all kinds of problems. The other thing is that it can cause the piercing to start sitting and the jewelry to sit in kind of weird angles and stay in those angles for long periods of time. And your body will eventually go, oh, you want it that angle? Okay, we're going to migrate that over there, guys. And then before you know it, the piercing's not where it was before. And the angle's totally off. So downsize on a timely basis. Talk to your piercer about that. Go back and do it. It'll make your life easier on top of it. And it'll look better. Now let's talk about living with a piercing. Piercing will need a lot of isolation even after it heals. This is not a piercing that you want to take to the rodeo and rough up a bit. It is a piercing that does rely on kind of just some tender care, even after it's healed. If you notice sudden pain or discomfort or swelling, even in a healed piercing, consult your piercer or medical professional as soon as possible. Especially if you've caught it or there's been some trauma to the area, there might be a situation where we need to address that. It might be a situation where we need to put longer jewelry in temporarily to allow for that swelling to go through its natural cycle and decrease before we put the shorter jewelry back in. Leave the jewelry in at all times. I think I've covered that already. Now let's talk about abandoning the piercing. If the piercing is healthy and there's no signs of infection, whether it's during the healing process or after, if there's no signs of any problems, removing the jewelry will just cause the piercing to close. After it's healed, it will kind of compress and then reconnect the tissue from the center outward and begin to fill back up. But you will have a scar for years that looks like the piercing is open. If it does have any signs of infection or other problem, consult your piercer or a medical professional before removing the jewelry. The reason why is if it is infected and that infection is deep inside the piercing, we don't want to trap it there and lead to an abscess or a cyst or some other problem that's going to require additional medical treatment. So, when in doubt, if you think there's a problem, before you take the jewelry out, go see your piercer or talk to your medical professional.
Last thing I want to talk about is sebum. Sebum is an oil waxy substance that your body produces. It has kind of a cream cheese kind of thing to it and smells really bad when it collects. It is a natural product to your body. Your body produces it to oil hair follicles, moisturize skin, and make you watertight. It tends to collect around scar tissue, which is what a piercing is. It'll also collect in crevices. It's one of the reasons why if you don't clean your navel, your belly button, and you put your finger in there and it smells really weird, bad, that's why. One of the reasons. I don't understand why people squeeze abandoned piercings in the first place and the stuff comes out and they think they have a problem. It isn't a problem. It's completely natural. Leave it alone and stop squeezing it. Well, that's it. Do you have a high nostril piercing or a set of high nostril piercings? How was the experience? Is it your favorite piercing ever? Leave a comment. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I would love to see you for your piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in that next video.